All right, good morning, everybody. Let's kick off TDX with discovering 10 new Flow features for admins.
This is not working.
All right.
All right, so first of all, of course, we want to say thank you all for being here. I almost didn't make it. But thank you all for making it on time. We really appreciate you. We know there's a lot to see and do here at TDX. We appreciate you starting the morning nice and early with us, so keep those coffee cups handy. My name is Janine Marquardt. I'm an architect and a strategist based here in the Bay Area. I'm a partner at Maple Digital, where I'm also the chief technical strategist. If you want to know what that is, ask me later. Maple Digital is a Salesforce SI partner where we focus on data and AI primarily. You might notice that this isn't Tom. Tom unfortunately had a last-minute emergency that took him from being here, but luckily I have the amazing Stephanie first.
Thank you. Thank you, Janine. Yeah, I'm sad Tom couldn't make it, and if you're looking forward to a British accent, sorry, I don't have that. But I am Stephanie First. I am a senior consultant at Slalom, a Salesforce partner. We provide business and technology consulting. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for 15 years or more. I am a Salesforce MVP Hall of Fame, and Janine over here is a current MVP. She's doing a lot of stuff for the community right now, so big shout out to her.
Thank you.
All right, so quick look at our agenda today. We have 4 sections. We divided up our 10 features into 2 sections. At the end, we'll have a couple summary slides, and so that's when you'll definitely want to get those cameras out, so you don't have to take notes the whole time.
All right, so let's get started. Let's define what Flow is and how Salesforce provides updates for this feature. As you might know, Salesforce Flow is the foundation of automation for admins. It's built on the simple concept of clicks, not code. There are several types of flows. Each one is designed for a different scenario. The most common is the record-triggered flow. It runs automatically, as you might know, when a record is created, updated, or deleted. It's great for real-time updates, things like notifications or embracing business logic or enforcing business logic. Next is scheduled flows. These are run at set times. You can set them to run weekly or daily. They're great for more like batch jobs, bulk updates, data cleanup, things like that. Screen flows bring in a user interface. These are often used for guiding a user step-by-step in an online form. And auto-launch flows, these run in the background. They don't require any screens at all. And they are often used and reused across other flows, making a really nice modular design and making it really easy to maintain. When we start to get into more complex processes, there's flow orchestration. And what this does is it helps you coordinate multiple flows and human steps along the way. It's great for managing approvals, stages, and even team handoffs. And finally, a prompt-triggered flow. This helps you connect automation to AI-driven experiences like simple prompts and actions. So as you can see, Flow isn't just one thing. It's an entire toolkit of automation that helps you build your scalable processes.
Yeah, so let's talk about the 2 types of Salesforce updates. So we have Salesforce minor updates. These are delivered monthly. They'll include things like performance fixes, bug fixes, sometimes security. You don't get release notes for these. You probably don't even know that these releases come out. They can include some impacts that you'll see. So like a recent one for Flow was the ability to collapse all or expand all the components. Our other type of updates are the major updates, so winter, spring, and summer, even though, they don't necessarily occur in those time of years. So these are the big feature updates. They'll, include changes to hundreds of components all across the platform. You get release notes for those ones. They'll hit your sandbox, and you can test those out. And they'll include release updates, and those ones you can actually test and enable in your sandbox ahead of time and check those out. And we'll talk about those more later. Yeah, so let's dig into our other updates. We're going to start with data table, screen flow, files, and automation app. So starting with the data table, back in the fall with the Winter 26 release, you can now include Apex-defined variables as the records within the data table. So by the name Apex-defined variables, yes, they can be built, are queried within Apex, or they can be returned from a Flow callout. Spring 26 brought us the long-awaited ability for inline editing. So you can make the changes right within the data table. You can be really granular about this change and set specific columns/fields that you want to allow your users to edit within the table by using the edit column values. And then afterwards, you'll use the output of that table to actually update the records. The other new feature shown here is being able to sort the columns. And again, this is a granular feature where you'll set it on each column/field that you want to allow your users to sort. Other minor releases include an automatic refresh when the language or field label changes within the data table. And you can no longer delete fields that are referenced in data tables. So when you're doing a field cleanup, it's just another double check to make sure you're not making any negative impacts.
Great. Let's talk now about user experience inside of flows. There are two new components that really help elevate and what your users see and how they interact. So the first is the messaging component. Some of you may have seen this already. This lets you add clear structured messages directly onto your screen, whether it's an information message in gray, a success confirmation in green, an error in red, or even a warning in orange. But this isn't just to help you visually. It's actually also accessibility friendly. This means that a screen reader can interpret the message type in addition to the message itself. These messages can be dynamic by pulling in data right from your flow. And the next one is the Kanban board component. So this allows you to display records as cards right in the flow without any custom development at all. So users can quickly see their progress and any status and key details all in one place. The one thing to note is this is read-only. Hopefully that's just for now.
Yeah, it's beta. All right, let's talk about some more updates to ScreenFlow. So in the Flow Builder itself, you can now preview themes. So you can see what your users are actually going to experience right within Flow Builder. This is true for Lightning Experience, our Experience Cloud. You can also change the sizing in that preview, small, medium, or large. So you can see what the ScreenFlow looks like on different devices from phones to tablets to laptops and desktops. Other changes include being able to make more like design changes right within the Flow Builder itself. So you can change the background, you can change the color of the button, you can change the border radius. You can also, and I love this, you can control the width of components so that input field doesn't have to take up the entire size of the ScreenFlow. You can make it shorter and make it look better. The one thing key thing to keep in mind is accessibility and inclusive design while you're making all those changes. Like, don't go crazy. Make sure that all of your users can really use your ScreenFlow. Okay, so next I want to talk about how flows are evolving to better support file document-driven processes, because in many businesses the real trigger for something to happen is a file and not necessarily just a record. So now you can trigger flows based on file activity. For example, when a file is added to a record, it could be based on things like the file type, the name, or even who uploaded it. You can automatically kick off a flow. So imagine like a contract gets uploaded, and that kicks off the approval process right away. You can also trigger flows directly from file lifecycle events. So when your file is updated, created, or even deleted, you can have all kinds of automation that is related to those documents across your system, because that's very often the case for a lot of us. And then once you're in the flow, there's a lot less friction for users also. There's this new file preview component, which lets you see directly inside the flow documents and such. You don't have to download or switch tabs. All right, let's talk about the automation app. So a couple updates to that include default record pages, Lightning record pages for the flow. So you can go over to the Lightning app builder and rearrange those fields so that they make sense, those record pages make sense to you. You can also now create orchestrations directly within the app. So you go to the orchestrations tab and you click new. So you don't have to hop over to setup. It just saves you a few clicks. You can use flow logs for better visibility into flow performance. Using Data 360, you can configure the logging and start tracking flow run metrics and performance insights. And lastly, you can see in the Action Hub where the invocable actions are used in flows and agents and prompt templates.
So next is the second half of our updates. We'll cover starting with debugging.
Yeah, so debugging has some exciting updates, I think. So one, it now runs in a side panel, and after it runs, you will see all these little cards, and that's for each component. You can expand those, and you can also use it to hop over to the component directly in the Flow canvas, so you can dig in and see what's going on and make any changes. And then when you need to rerun that, the thing I love is that the inputs that you have for debug are going to save throughout your entire session. So even though you might save the flow and make a whole bunch of changes, when you go back over to run it, it's going to keep that record that you selected or those IDs that you input in there, and you don't have to go back and find those. It saved me a whole bunch of time recently when I was doing some debugging. You can also clear those out if you are ready to.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about something that every admin and developer runs into, managing change in flows. As flows get more complex, even like a small update can really introduce a lot of risk. And so now you can compare two versions of a flow side by side. Instead of digging through XML or trying to remember what changed, you can get a clear visual comparison of the two versions of your flow and whatever those properties might be. So this works across all major flow types, including record-triggered, scheduled, and screen flows. And then on top of that, testing has actually improved significantly, as we've been talking about. So you can now reuse and associate tests across multiple flow versions. So instead of just rebuilding it every time, you can just reassociate it to the next version.
Yeah, so let's talk about orchestration. Okay, so one, you can now, while you're debugging orchestrations, you can set like start and end points. So if you have a big orchestration, you can say, oh, I really need to look at this one particular section. It's causing problems. You can do that now. You can also, if you're using it as an approval process, you can do that approving or rejection right within the flow builder itself. It's going to pop up there. So in order to launch the flow approval processes, which I just built my first one, and it's awesome. It provides so much more like capability than classic approval processes. You do have a different component that you have to put on the Lightning page, and it's this request approval button. It only works for flow approvals. It doesn't work for classic approvals. So if you have both on an object, you might have to have both this component and a regular button on it. But you can do some component visibility on that so they're not showing up all the time. And so now the exciting thing, and this is why I just built my first flow approval process, is that orchestration is now available without additional licenses. You still have your edition limits as to like the total number of flows overall that you can have and the number of versions for each. But this is a big change, and it's really exciting.
Very exciting stuff. All right, so now something near and dear to my heart. Let's talk about how AI is changing the way we manage flows. So traditionally, updating a flow meant adding new elements step by step manually, but now you can sort of just draft or even modify existing flows using natural language. So for example, imagine your sales ops manager comes to you and says, I think that opportunities that are closed won should be handled differently. So instead of just like rebuilding that flow one by one, you can just type add a decision to check if the opportunity stage is closed won. And just like that, the flow is updated. You can see exactly what changed because, of course, we can compare our versions as well. And it doesn't stop there. AI can now power more intelligent decision-making inside of flows. Instead of relying just on structured fields, these decision elements can actually evaluate things like sentiment, tone, or unstructured text. So now a customer message can be routed based on how it feels and not just what fields are populated. I'm sure you can see how this could be a game changer. So instead of like building automation manually, you're now just guiding it with intent.
Excuse me. So let's talk about our last feature update. So this is the restrict user access to run flows. was a release update. So those are the ones that are in setup. They come out in the major releases, but you can go in and enable them in a sandbox. You run through, do testing. You can disable it while you go and fix things. And then once you've made all the changes that you need to make, and you might not need to make any, you go back and re-enable, or you can enable them in production. But this was enforced last fall. So you do need to use a profile or permission sets over profiles for access to flows. There is a grant run user or run flow permission in profiles and permission sets now. And then Salesforce recommends disabling the flow user, and this is a checkbox on the user record. So stop using that. And then for admins who need to build or manage flows, there is a manage flow user permission specifically. You'll need to make sure all your admins have that.
All right, so this is where you want to get your phones out because the next couple slides wrap this all up in something easy for you to consume later. So here's the first set of 5 updates. We'll go ahead and give you a minute. I know. Let's give everyone a chance. Okay. All right, I see most phones going down. All right, and here comes the next half. All right, now you want one with us, right?
All right, there are a bunch of phones up, even though they weren't really taking pictures. No.
I know, they're just like, oh, fine. But don't put your phones away yet because we have something else for you.
Yeah, so now that we've talked about these new features, you might be like, how do I keep updated going forward? All right, so we got release notes as the first QR code, and Summer 26 is almost here. It's already hit pre-release orgs, so you definitely want to go there because those Summer 26 release notes are coming out soon. The Salesforce admins blog is the next QR code, and they do great blog posts highlighting new features. They'll do one specifically on flow features for each releases. The Release Readiness Trailblazers community group is a great community group where you can go and ask questions to other admins. Release Readiness Live are live sessions that happen around every release, and they'll do a flow specific one, and they'll have flow PMs coming in and talking about the new features and why they're exciting and what you can do. Salesforce Ben always does great blog posts around releases. They'll do flow specific ones too. And then lastly, you can join us over on the Flownatics Slack community. You can have real-time conversations with other people using flows. Yeah, so thank you to everybody, whether you've joined us live in person or you're joining us on the broadcast. Thank you for taking the time and investing in yourself.
But before you go, one more important QR code for you. And this is the first session of the day, so hopefully the first time you're seeing it. If you scan this code, you can download the app. Please do give us answer the survey, give us session feedback, and at the end of TDX, please do give feedback on the event. The first 700 Trailblazers who do so will get a $10 Starbucks gift card. In addition,
it's closed.
What's closed?
Well, okay, we'll
let somebody know. Okay, but it may be that this hasn't ended yet, and neither has the event. So at the end of the event is probably when it'll show up. Additionally, session summaries will be available at some point later. So if you missed any part of this or kind of wanted to get the transcript, we have an AI-generated summary that we'll review and post for you in the app. So now, thank you once again. One more important QR code. What, did I just go backwards? Sorry.
There you go.
Thank you once again. We really appreciate you being here. We know it's early, but there's a lot to see and do at TDX, so have a great time.
Yeah, have a great TDX, everybody.